So the last couple of weeks I've been planting out my seedlings into the veg garden, and I've realised pretty quickly that I am going to run out of space. I don't plan things particularly well. I don't keep a diary of what I'm going to put in every bed and stuff like that. And I reckon I'm a couple of beds short of the things I need to plant out within the next week or so. But also, I haven't allowed for any beans yet. I haven't planted any dwarf French beans, climbing beans, or anything like that. So I'm definitely going to need some more space. So I've had this timber knocking around for a little while, just stacked over in my bits and bobs area over the back there. So I figured I'll just turn this little corner here, which it kind of tapers up and narrows down. So it's a bit of an awkward corner. It's not quite big enough to get the sort of 3.5–4 meter beds into until slightly further back there. So I figured in this corner, I'm going to just use this timber to make some little raised beds. So something a bit visually different in here, because I haven't got any other raised beds in here. Something a little bit different, and just some more planting space. In this little narrow area here, between these beds and the fence, I've got my perennial kales. Now they will potentially get a couple of meters sort of spread, so they should fill in this little narrow area there. And then obviously these 3 beds take me up to a point where I can then have a path there, and I can then start doing some 3.5 meter beds. I'm going to put about another 4 beds in there. So I've been out this morning and bought 144 pounds worth of compost. That's 6 sacks for 4 beds there, 6, 12, 18, 24, and then the other 12 hopefully we'll do this. I think I've got another 3 or 4 sacks in the compost area there. Unfortunately, I'm out with homemade compost at the moment. I've got 2 bays coming on, but they're just not ready yet, so I can't use that. So I'm still buying compost at the moment. I can't wait to be self-sufficient in that, but it's going to be probably the end of the year before I am. Oh, just on a quick note, I am quite pleased. So my earlier videos of the seedlings where I did the test of my compost versus normal multi-purpose bought compost, my compost did really well. Everything germinated just as well as in the bought-in multi-purpose. So I'm really glad and happy about that, because it means I can save quite a bit of money going forward. I do spend many hundreds of pounds on compost, especially setting this whole area up. So yeah, so I can't wait to be self-sufficient. Hopefully the end of the year, I think I should be in compost. So these 2 bigger beds I've already screwed together. I've left this one not screwed together, so I'll just show you how I do that and what I use for that. And then all I've got to do is get these bedded in, rake out the wood chip that is at the bottom of them, put that on the paths, and then fill them with compost. And then later on this afternoon after lunch, I'll crack on with these other 4 beds here, and I'll show you the whole area when it's done. Right, right, so basically this timber is 6 by 2, and I'm using 6-inch screws. So screws will go through there and a good 4 inches into the end grain of these cross pieces. On this sort of size timber, I don't use any corner support because it's thick enough to not need it really. On the decking boards I've got in my raised beds in my polytunnel, I've put corner supports in, just because they're a little bit thinner. But with this stuff, the screw will go into this end grain, and it shouldn't split it. It's got the self drilling ends on the screws, which always help to stop splitting the wood anyway, and the little grooves on the head that help to sort of stop splitting when the head goes in. So I always pre-drill where I'm going through the grain. I'll always pre-drill that, because this end is where you will tend to get the splits more than going into the end grain. So what I do is I get a piece of the cut off timber and just put it up to the end, and then just get a pencil line so that you know where to drill, and then just give yourself 2 screws, 2 screw holes like that, and this will just stop this end grain from splitting. This is all really where you're going to get the splits when you're screwing into an end like that. So we'll just do this the other side as well. And I'll just put the screws about an inch, smack in the middle and about an inch down and an inch up with these big screws. They do hold really well in this timber. Just turn the drill down to a slower speed and put it on drill. It's really important to have a good drill, and I've got a drill with 2 batteries because you run out in the middle of a job, it's always really annoying. So I just get these screws just started, just get them into place. Obviously doing this on wood chip isn't ideal. It's not exactly a level playing field, but like I say, I'm not worried about things being absolutely perfect as long as it's pretty much there. And we're good. Just get the top one started. And before I tighten them up, get the bottom one in. There really hasn't split that end there. Like I say, those screws, they kind of self-tap into the wood. They don't just push it apart, they cut it as they go in, so it tends not to split the sides. And that is rock solid. On that sort of size timber, you just don't need a corner support. It just takes up space in the bed, and there's no real need for it. Like I say, bang some big screws in, you know, good 4 inches into that end timber, and that's gonna hold it. So I'll crack on and get this bed finished, and then I've just got to bed them in and get them filled. Right, so that's the beds all screwed together. I've raked out the majority of the wood chip. I'm not worried about getting every bit out. There's still a smidgen left in the bottom. That's fine. Just got to fill them with compost now. I always keep my compost bags. I don't just bin them. They're good strong bags. I use them for stuffing my nets and my fleece into at the end of the season, and I hang them up in the compost barn out of the way of mice. Mice will ruin everything. Fleece, nets, you know, if you leave them on the ground or in a shed or something, they'll just nest in them and they'll ruin the whole lot, hundreds of pounds worth in no time at all. So I always stick them in bags, tie them up just with some loops, and just loop the string on and hang them off the ground, and then nothing. You'll get queen wasps going there to hibernate, so just mind your fingers in the spring, but at least it keeps them out of the way of the mice and anything that will ruin them. So I'm going to get this in, get it raked out, and these beds will then be done. I feel some music coming on. Right, so that's the compost put out. I put 7 bags in each because I don't think 6 was going to be quite enough, and 3 in there. Took a little bit more than I thought, so I've just got to rake it out now and see where we are. So that's raked out. It's actually quite surprising. I probably need about twice that amount of compost. Yeah, a little bit more than I thought, but I'm not going to buy any more compost. It's deep enough. It's probably 4 inches deep, something like that. So that'll do for this year. And then come the end of the year, I'll have plenty enough of my own compost so I can top them right up. And I'll do them as no dig, same as I do everything else. I'll top them up every year. But yeah, I'm not going to go and spend more money on compost to to top those up. They're fine like that. They're fine like that for this year. So that's it, that's those done. I'm going to pop home for some lunch now and a cup of tea, and then we'll get on to the other 4 beds this afternoon. So I've had my sausage and egg sandwich and a couple of mugs of tea, and we're all ready to go. So I've rolled the plastic back. This plastic area here, this sheeting, is where I keep all my my trees and my cuttings and things that I grow. I sell a few trees online and things like that, and to some of my customers. So that's just sort of dedicated for them. So I'm losing some of it, probably about a quarter. I've rolled it back. It's actually really surprising how much weed there is under it. This plastic's been down about a year, and there's still bindweed coming up. So I'm going to have a pick through and pick that off, and I'm sure bits will come up in the beds anyway. They do on some of the others, but you just got to keep picking at it, and it weakens it, and it will go over time. So I've marked out my first bed just with these stamping electric posts. It's in line with the 3rd bed in up here. I like to have things sort of in line. So 1, 2, 3, 4 beds I'm going to get in there. So 4, 5, 6, 7 extra little beds. It should be enough for this year. So what I'm going to do now is I'll turn the camera off. I'm going to pick all the weeds out, get all the compost out here, and then I'll start putting it out and marking the beds and getting them done and wood chipped. So that's all the beds. I marked them all out and put all the wood chip in, the paths all round. I've tipped 6 bags of compost into each one. I've raked this one out, got these 3 to rake out, just break up the lumps as I go. It's probably 6 bags. It's about 3 or 4 inches deep, so not as deep as I'd have liked, but come the end of the year I can put another 3 or 4 inches of my own compost on if I want. So I'm going to rake these out, and we'll have a final little look when I'm done. Cue the music. So there we go. It's a good day's work. I'm well happy with that. It's given me a lot more growing space. But one thing I have realised is I'm going to have to order some more hoops. I've only got 2 hoops left, and I haven't even got enough to finish these other beds. So I've got a birthday coming up end of May. I think it's going to be hoops all round this year for my birthday. But let's have a closer look. That's 4 beds, 3.5 meters long, 4 foot wide. Don't ask me why I did meters and feet. I always like to confuse things, but yeah, 3.5 meters. Because I think it's important to have I could have done them right to the fence, but I don't see the point. I like to have a bit of a path all round, so I can peg the net down properly and stuff. And then these last beds here, I didn't bother leveling these or anything. I just sat them on the wood chip and had a look from back there, and just kind of looked by eye, and they're good enough, you know. Nothing has to be absolutely perfect down here. So yeah, that's all done. Good extra bit of growing space. I reckon I have eaten into my tree area, probably about a 1/3 actually, but I don't do quite so many as I used to, so that should be enough ground. But this should definitely help me out this year. So that's all done. Hope you enjoyed it, guys, and please remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the videos, and leave any comments in the comments section if there's anything you'd like me to cover, anything you want me to go back over or show you what I do. Just let me know. Anything you want to know more about or whatever. But yeah, take it easy, guys. See you next time.